Good evening, everybody. This is host Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. Tonight is a very different, very somber, very humble podcast night. We have together members of the PWX, the MCW roster, Mid Midwest, right?
Midwest.
Championship Wrestling out of Illinois. And we have had a tragic loss. The owner promoter Jimmy Smooth passed away, and we are here to just celebrate life, celebrate memories, celebrate fun stuff that bring us what Jimmy did for the wrestlers of the roster, and he's part of the podcast a couple times, and we're just here to um we're here to celebrate, and I'm gonna let A and B go because he seems to be. I contacted him first, and he was like, "Let's do this," and I'm like, "Okay, let's do this."
So, yeah, Austin Michael Baldridge, A and B here. Jimmy Smooth, unfortunately passed away. We lost a good one too soon. It's very tragic when we lose someone just in life, but in the wrestling community, it's a very somber time. It's dark days, and I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail because I'm very close with Jimmy and his family. And I respect them. They're mourning still, as I am, and all of us are. It's been a tough few days since his passing, and lots happening. Um, Jimmy Smooth, James Stoblin, he was a wonderful man. I wouldn't be in the position that I am right now if it wasn't for him. Um, Fresh out of high school, I took a travel job and kind of got caught up in that cycle of life where you just caught up with what you're comfortable with and you just keep going, But I knew I wanted to do something else. And in 2019, he had found out I was pursuing some training in professional wrestling. And before I even was done with training, he was calling me up like, I got an opportunity for you, an opportunity of a lifetime. And, unfortunately, something with me in my personal life happened and I had to stop training. And fast forward to early 2022, I was caught up in that cycle of being stuck in a job that I didn't really appreciate and that I didn't really like at all. It was just good money at the time. And from the time I left Louisville, Kentucky, all Phoenix, Arizona, not a second was missed. He was selling me the dream, you got to come home. You got to come back, like you got potential. You're still young enough. I see something in you. And that was one thing that I needed at the time, personally, is someone to just believe in me. And Jimmy was that guy. And he not only did that for myself, but he did that for everybody. There's lots of people in the Midwest independent wrestling scene that he's helped out, like Chris Mercer. I wouldn't know Chris Mercer or ever been able to wrestle and learn from, guys that I needed to if it wasn't for Jimmy. He was a wonderful guy, and I always said he was a man of opportunity. And I really believe that. Some people had a little bit of disdain for Jimmy for a little bit, but whether you liked it or not, he was a very genuine person, and he always looked out for someone. He had someone's best interest. It just kind of shows, like what he invested his life into as far as PWX or MCW or just even helping out other companies like Galley Lucha Libre. He's been their number one ring rental guy since 2009, 8, and it just shows the type of character that he was and that he had. He was reliable, dependable, inspirational at times, and I think that's kind of what's a little bittersweet for me is I'm going to never really have the chance to, go up to a show and walk through the curtain. And he's not going to be there to tell me I shit the bed or, tell me that I need to get better at this or, so. And I'm trying to compose myself, as best as I can for Jimmy and for his wife and his family. Like a lot of things happened over the last few days and just trying to be there for him, in any way possible. And that's kind of what I gotta say so far about Jimmy. Before I kind of get a little too worked up, but
And I will say
he was
this:
one of a kind. He was one of a kind, dude. Like
Without a doubt.
I will say
very,
this: I met him when he was with PWX and was Sin at first, and then he let that parted and he started up MCW. So that showed me that he had everybody in this room in his mind, in his heart. He wanted to continue the dream that you guys all have as wrestlers, right?
yeah.
That showed them. That shows that speaks a lot about a guy. So I'm sorry. I'll let whoever wants to go next.
I guess one of the things I'll remember the most about him is the fact that he could always bring a smile to your face too. He always seemed to have a joke or something funny to say. If it was somebody else, that's fine. If it was even himself, he could make fun of himself to make other people laugh, to make other people happy. He always was giving and giving and giving. And especially for somebody that's been around as long as he has in the business, the fact that he was able to give back so much to some of the young guys, especially, when we started bringing guys in PWX and then MCW, he really got to build some guys up. And people like AMB were given awesome opportunities because this man's experience and what he was able to pass on to another generation. That way, it makes it so he lives with all of us now. You know what I mean? The things he did, the way he's inspired us all, like AMB said. I was near the end of my career, but he still saw something in me. And it was an honor working with him.
Absolutely. Before we go a little bit further, we got Gina. She says, "I just want to say I'm here for you, AMB."
Thank you, Gina.
Also, we have Mike Scosberg. I love you both, AMB and Chris Wildcard. I'm very sorry about his loss. I am here with you guys. Need help and set up and tear down or anything. I love you all in this company. Me and Ethan are here with you all. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Ethan. Appreciate you guys. Chris.
I'm gonna try to keep it together a little bit. It's a tough time for everybody. Like Austin had said, Jimmy is the man of opportunity, and I can say that the exposure that I've gotten in my wrestling career, I owe a lot to Jimmy. There would be no wild card thing in front of you right now because Jimmy gave me the stage to develop my character and live out my passion and learn. I was with Jimmy in the early days of PWX, so I got to work with Jimmy for quite some time and also blossom into this new company we have now, giving a lot of talent opportunity, including myself and AMB as well. And that's Midwest Championship Wrestling. And, I don't think thank you covers it, really. Like I could say thank you again and again for every opportunity, for every moment, for every bit of passion that still flows through me. But, it's more of a I love you for what you've given me and the opportunity that you have given all of us. There's so many names of so many people that I could list that have benefited from the opportunities that Jimmy has laid in front of us and continues to do even in his absence. I love you so much for everything that you have ever done for myself and everyone that I've had the opportunity to be around. Wrestling is exceptionally passionate for me, and I feel that beating in my heart every single time that I'm around it. And it's just a blessing to have been able to do this and to know him as well. He's one of the kindest guys I think I've ever been around. I've never felt ever less than myself or anything. I've never felt a bad moment, a dull moment. People have had their disagreements with Jimmy, in the past and everything, but he's always been a good-hearted man. I can say that for sure. You know, he's never made me feel uncomfortable in any of the way. I've always felt as if he's been a genuine hearted man. And it's a great loss to not only myself, the family, but the entire wrestling community. If you knew him, if you did not know him, you know, it's a definite deep loss. And I just, like I said, thank you doesn't cover it, but I love you sums it up.
Apex, man, thank you for joining the podcast tonight. We are talking memories of Jimmy Smooth, MCW. I just want to know, do you have anything you'd like to say? What's your thought? What's going through your mind with all this?
Well, thanks for having me on the show. I didn't get to know Jimmy very long. I met him through COA probably last summer. And I could tell you the short time I had with him, he had a huge impact on me and like believing in me. MCW and Jimmy were the first person outside of SCW that really gave me a shot in the ring. And, he was just constantly trying to find spots for me to be a part of the show. At the last show, he said he saw something in me, and we were gonna try and show everybody else what he saw. So I hope I did make him proud that night at the last show, and I wish I had more time with him. We had a thing planned with me and him, and I think he was gonna show the rest of the world what we could do. So it's very sorry to hear what happened. I know AMB and Wildcard, you guys knew him a lot longer, and you guys were very close with him. So it's still trying to hit home that he's no longer with us, but I can't thank him enough for the opportunities.
He was very proud of all of us, like especially that last show. He was so happy with the overall outcome, and the stories that we were unfolding in front of him. He had a very big part in making things come to fruition and making them a reality, and he's very proud that we delivered as far as performers and wrestlers in the ring. He always knew we were going to do that no matter what. Just the atmosphere and, everybody kind of knew what was going on and what it was for, and we were just all finally catching that stride as a company, creatively, directively, and everybody was excited for their role on the show. And it really showed because we put on a great show, and Jimmy was very damn proud of every single person that busted their ass to make that happen, and whether you were there or not, you can watch it back on MCW's YouTube. It was electric, like he knew how much everybody on the show was sacrificing to come and work for MCW, and it meant a lot to him. So it definitely doesn't go unnoticed on his end. I was with him at the end of the night, and he was very ecstatic, despite it being a long day for, him and I having to do teardown and make these trips to get everything back to his house. But he was very proud. I know that for sure.
And I can tell by the way you guys perform. And this is a props to Jimmy. You could tell that you guys all appreciated, loved him. He was a father to probably all y'all. He's a brother to all y'all. He's a friend to all y'all. And you guys, the way you put on your shows, it's electric. You can tell that you're doing it because A, you love the business, and B, you love your promoter. Yeah. And every show, I mean, I'll just say this because I see AMB and Wildcard on the thing. Even Sin and PWX, man, the things that you guys did, AMB, when you jumped off that balcony and onto Mercer, that was a tragic for Mercer, but you could tell you guys were having fun and you were putting on good shows for yourself and for your promoter. It shows. So I'm going to say thank you to you guys for loving the man so much, because you could tell honestly, every single one, even Apex down here, you can tell through the promos he's cutting and all this stuff that he wanted so badly to make Jimmy happy. And AMB said it. He's ecstatic at that after that last show, and it shows because you guys, how grateful you guys are to him. So I'm going to hit some people. Oscar chatted in, Chris Patton chatted in. So I'm going to read some of these if you don't mind.
Of course.
Oscar says, "I'm sorry I couldn't make it. Just wanted to say I wouldn't be in the position that I am if it wasn't for Jimmy. I love you, Jimmy, and I will always make sure the names and rings in your name rings in every arena we are in. Love my MCW family." That's Chris. Then we have Mandy. Mandy Cromwell says, "Ron, I love you, Jimmy." We have Jimmy was one of the guys who helped me get back into wrestling. I remember talking to him on the phone, going over ideas he has for me on the show. He even had a plan to have me tagged with a midget wrestler. I was like, "You want me to? You want it to? You got it. He'll be missed. He sure will." I would have loved to see that.
That'd been great.
We did work with the Micro Wrestling Federation
Did
at
you?
times. Yeah, he would ref.
Nice. Okay. Mike Scosberg says, I do what I say. I hope it's okay saying this. When I lost my job and my son was going through mental health earlier this year, Jimmy, AMB, Oscar, and Raphael helped us get into a MCW show earlier this year. Means a lot to me. Still, he was a great man. He will be missed for a long time, but he will live on when MCW going on still. Then we have Jerry Dennis. You guys have all hit it on the head. He was such a special guy that would give people with any kind of spark for the business a place to light a fire. I was so glad to be given the chances and opportunities he gave me. He may be gone, but I don't think he ever will be forgotten. With his special touch he left on us so many. Thank you, Jerry. I will say this. PWX and Sin and Johnny Cass and AMB were some of my first guys on my podcast, and I had to go through Jimmy, to get you guys. And he, like you said, AMB, he'd always tell you ideas.
Yeah.
So we're through Facebook chat. I didn't know him personally, but through Facebook chat, we chatted about what ideas I could bring on the podcast. And I remember doing he was the one that wanted me to do a Nick Noel, Nasty Nick, and Koa real fight face to face. So man, that stuff is cool, and I'm gonna miss them, man. But like all these guys say, I'll be honest. I apologize for falling away from MCW for a while, but you guys have always been at my heart. You guys are amazing, and I hope that we can get back connected because you guys are, like I said, all you guys on the screen are amazing, and it's because I think it's because of who you worked for, or who brought you up.
Exactly. Like Jimmy, it kind of goes back to what Sen was saying and stuff, and like what you were saying. Like, we love Jimmy because he loves pro wrestling, and not just your average pro wrestling either. Like, I've been on hundreds of trips with this guy over the last few years doing micro wrestling shows.
Yes.
Like he eats, sleeps, and breathes wrestling. He's just as much of a fan as he was when he was 10 years old as he was when he was in his 60s. And he didn't really care at times what people thought. And then there was times when he did. And it's usually when he didn't care about what people thought was when he thrived the most, and he was just a very loving guy and very passionate person, especially about wrestling. And then even outside of wrestling, I spent a lot of trips with him, and it was just an honor to be able to kind of learn from him. He's been around wrestling for 32 years. He was going on 33 years this year, and just to hear his stories and his experiences and how much he lights up when he talks about his guys. He always had these list of people he'd like, "Oh, those are my guys," and you could tell because when he would talk about these people, like myself, Xavier Sky, Chris Mercer, Axel Rico, he gave Axel Rico one of his first matches, and Jimmy, again, a man of opportunity. Like, he's impacted and touched so many people's careers and impacted them in such ways that, it was very early on in a lot of people's careers, but they never forget that because of the type of guy Jimmy was. And it goes to show, I know for a fact his wife was very pleased with the amount of support and love that everybody was given through the wrestling community. And that's the beautiful thing about this, I kind of know her love-hate relationship with wrestling. And it's very beautiful to see that, everything he did, he put his life on the line for wrestling. And he was willing to do whatever it took to provide for wrestling. And just to firsthand be that person to, get the honor to travel with him as much as I did and see what he was willing to do to make things happen. It just gives me a fire, to just make him proud because, he was my wrestling dad. I would always say that, hey, I got a booking. I need to go somewhere. It's my first time here. I don't really know some people. Oh yeah, I'll take you. I know this person, or I know so and so, or I've heard of this. He was very well connected, and he's very tight knit with a lot of people, and
he was very well respected.
Yeah,
in the
and
wrestling
he
community.
didn't really know
Yeah.
he was that respected, at times, and that's like kind of like the sad thing about life sometimes is you don't really tell people a lot how much they mean to you. And, after this whole experience, I'm really learning that because of who Jimmy was, how loving and caring he was.
Yeah.
It's okay to tell people these things, and that's been helping me get through this grieving process. And, that's how I know he's still here and he's still watching over a lot of us because he's helping us talk about things, do stuff like this, like when you approached me about this immediately, I was like, hell yeah, let's do it because this guy he deserves his flowers,
Absolutely.
Absolutely does.
I've had everybody on the podcast before, and I talk about brotherhood.
Yeah.
And I can see brotherhood right here. I can see Jimmy was part of brotherhood. He stayed and teared down the ring at 60 some years old. He stayed and teared down the ring.
Yeah.
Y'all do that. So you guys, MCW and PWX is a great definition, an example of brotherhood. And you guys need to be proud of that. Very
Absolutely.
proud of
Very proud.
Sin, you got something to say?
It was because of Jimmy,
Yeah,
Jimmy,
that's what I was going to say. It was all because of Jimmy.
he brought
Jimmy
us
was
all
the
together.
heartbeat. Yeah, he's the link between all of us.
Yep.
And
I'm
the way
very-
he's affected our lives.
I'm
He's
very happy
affected
with
us
the
all.
people I met. They're all good people. Like I've said it once on the podcast with you before when I first came on. Like I've never really experienced none of those horror stories you hear about with like professional wrestling or nothing. And it was a big part because I was with Jimmy. He knew the right places to kind of go. He always knew if I needed to get better, where the right place to go. And Galley was a big place. He was family with Galley Lucha Libre. And I know they're mourning as well. I've talked to the owner personally on the phone, and I know it's hard for him. And, it's just very unfortunate that it's happening the way that it's happening. But Jimmy was very respected, and he didn't know that, but we got to scream it as loud as we can. And like I said, he deserves his flowers, man.
Just got a message on the thing on chat from his Jimmy's wife. So thanks you guys. Jimmy loves you all. Loved you all. So.
Love you, Diane.
We all love Jimmy.
Yeah.
Apex left a chat. So let me see. I have also a couple things from Mike Skysberg says, I do want to say to all of you, we are coming down for MCW on May 24th because we want to be there with you all on that day, and you all are family. We love you all, all you guys. So let's talk about. I was so excited when I seen the post today that the show will go on. I think that's awesome. I think that's probably the reason. Correct me if I'm wrong, you guys. You're doing it for Jimmy.
Absolutely.
Because Jimmy would want it to go on no matter what.
You said it. Jimmy would want it because after the last show that we had, he was again so ecstatic and like very proud of what we were unfolding and about to really tell over the course of the summer. And he was very excited about this. He's a big fan of Rhino. He's met Rhino a few times. Always loves when Rhino's around, and he was looking forward to having another chance to just hang out with Rhino. You know.
So I'm going to go around the room. Apex, are you going to be part of the show on the 24th?
Yes, still to be determined on what I'll be doing, but I will be there.
Awesome. And wild card?
Absolutely, I wouldn't miss it, brother.
Sin, you going to be there?
I'll be there either in the crowd or whatever they want me to. And I'll run sound. I don't care. I'll be there 100%.
It's going to be a show. I wish I could be up in Illinois. I can't. I wish I could. I know for a fact you guys are going to put on a hell of a show.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt, I know for a fact you're going to put on a hell of a show. And I can't wait. It'll be up on YouTube the next day, correct?
Probably within the next couple days, yeah. You know, that was another thing. Jimmy, you know, he kind of was ready to have that quick turnover rate so we can just keep the fans wanting more. And, you know, I'm going to do my best to make sure we can get that stuff out as quick as possible so everyone can see, you know, the tribute we're going to have for Jimmy and just the show, you know, people that love wrestling. We're going to put on a fantastic show. It will be a little bit of a roller coaster of emotions, but it's going to be worth it. And it's going to be very fun, very exciting. And, you're going to love it. And, in June, we also, I will make the announcement right now. In June, that whole entire show, is going to be dedicated to, James Stoblin, also known as Jimmy Smooth, founder of MCW. It's going to give us a little bit of time to really have an honorable farewell to Jimmy.
Awesome, man. I know you guys are going to knock it out of the park. I have no doubt in my mind. And you guys are going to make it happen. I have no doubt in my mind now the future of MCW is gold. I think Jimmy Smooth has left it in great hands with all his roster, and the love that he had, that you guys have for him. I'm pretty confident that you won't let the show stop. So
you do it for Jimmy, you know. He's very proud again, you know. He's always talking to people that he would meet and see throughout the day that, you know, never came to a show or don't really watch wrestling, but he was telling everybody about it and was very excited and proud, you know. Again, I seen him, you know, over some years kind of go through trial and error with his promotions at times. And for him to just finally see progress the way he envisioned in his head really come to life, he was so happy. And we're just going to continue doing that, you know.
When's the show? What date's the show in June? You know, Mike wants to know.
Let me check the calendar real quick. June 29th. June 29th. Yep. June 29th. We will be making an announcement further on that as well. We're just working, you know, diligently and putting all our effort into this show. You know, we're still mourning and grieving and stuff as well. And we got some things that we're working up. So, you know, we're going to be making all these announcements as the months kind of go on. May 24th, we are going to have the show. It's still going to go on, and we're going to do the best damn job that we can to make Jimmy Smooth proud.
I'm a firm believer when we have stuff like this happen, it's a celebration of life, right?
Absolutely.
So when I talk about celebration, I talk about fun, right? And I'm gonna go around the room, okay? I mean, I'll start with Apex. I know you haven't been with them that long, but what would you say is one funny interaction or any interaction, the positive interaction that you had with Jimmy?
I mean, after my debut, he came down to the ring and we had a private conversation about some future wrestling endorsements that I was very excited about being able to do with him. So I am proud to kind of say that I probably was going to be. I'm the last Jimmy Smooth guy that was going to be around, so it was kind of cool.
You're gonna plan on staying around, correct?
I plan on staying around.
Yeah.
Awesome. You and I got to talk later, okay?
Sounds good to me, brother.
All right. Wild card, man. You've been around him a long time. PWX, MCW. Could you give us some positive or funny moments that you had with the man?
Absolutely. I see. I've gotten the fortunate opportunity to know Jimmy for quite some time. I've actually known him since 2013 when I really got my first run on the indie scene. And he didn't go as Jimmy Smooth then. He was Seymour Butts. And the funny thing is that, I actually thought that's what his name was. And then I figured out it was a running joke. So, but he's always been a really kind guy. And, from 2013, with the years that passed by, we would be around each other, have opportunities and stuff like that. But it really came to full circle for me when he reached out to me. I do believe this was 2020. And I was honored to be a part of PWX. I started in, I believe it was January of 2021. And it was really good. It was really good to see him again. I've like I said, I've been there for a while, so I'll piggyback on, one thing that Austin said, the trial and error of, wrestling, the companies and everything like that. One thing about Jimmy is that he always had a vision, set forth. And, that's something to be said for a lot of us, because we all have a vision of, the things that we want to do. And, sometimes that first time around, it might not fire off the way you want to. But one thing I can say that he was exceptionally persistent, no matter the outcome. And for it to blossom, his vision for professional wrestling, to blossom to where MCW is today, I'm just exceptionally grateful and honored to have been a part of the ride the entire time. Oh boy, as far as funny things, just he's just a funny guy all around. Just his personality, his wit, all of it, man. He always had the ability to make you smile. So, and I love the fact that he was always interested in knowing how you were doing. He always asked me, "Hey, how's it going? How's the family? How's life?" He was more concerned with myself as a person than my character as a wild card. And that's what really brought us together there, because, he took the time to get to know me. And I thought that was, like I said, it was a blessing for me.
I don't think you see that much in promotions. The promoters care more about what the show brings in and sometimes don't care about the stars. And I get the feeling just hearing you guys' story. I gotta say it again. He was a dad to probably all of you.
He definitely gave a gift, and I'll say, like I said earlier, I'll say thank you. On screen, Austin and I have, a tension point in everything as far as our characters are concerned. But if it wasn't for Jimmy Smooth, I would have never met this man. I would have never had the matches I had with him. I would have never spent the time, the training, everything, and it's not just Austin. It's much more than that. But, I gained a brother out of all this, man. A lot of friends, a lot of family, and like I said, thank you just doesn't cover it, man. It's so much more than that. But I'm just proud to have been able to experience something with him.
I'm not sure if you guys are seeing the chat, but it's Mike says it's all okay. It's okay. All crying is time of normal. And A and B, could we talk after the show? I want to talk about something if that's okay, bud. So there's that.
Absolutely.
Diane, Miss Stolblin says Austin, Jimmy is looking down from heaven. Very proud of what you've become. So Sin, I met you when you were in PWX, man.
Yeah, I met Jimmy
before
that.
I got a question for you. Was Jimmy Smooth was Jimmy Smooth fond of the Syndicate?
He was part of the Syndicate for a
Okay.
while, actually.
All
Even
right.
though I don't know how happy he was to be part of the Syndicate, I think Jimmy was definitely a more of a good guy at heart.
Okay.
I think Jimmy had a problem being a bad guy. He
Okay.
was. I mean, they always say, "Be what you are," ramped up times 10 in the ring, and that's what Jimmy was. He was a great guy. He cared about people. Like Chris said, you come in, he's not necessarily right in your face about your match and this has got to happen, this and this. He'll actually talk to you like a human being. You know what I mean? And that's not something you see in every company, in every promoter. The locker room was fantastic when he was in charge of it. What he's built, like Chris said, what he's built in MCW, the locker room, the people he's got there, he's leaving it in fantastic hands, and he's built something that's just really epic, and I hope lives on for many, many, many more years.
A and B, man, it's your turn.
Man, I could sit here for hours and give funny stories. But kind of just reflecting off what Chris said, he was so funny in ways that you couldn't even like really explain or fathom sometimes. Like you just look at him sometimes and you just start laughing. It's like, Jimmy, what the hell? Like, come on, brother.
He's got the kind of laugh that makes me laugh.
Oh, his laugh.
I love his laugh, dude. So
it was infectious, and he just had that kind of that gift to him,
Yeah.
Like he was just a very well likable guy. As far as like a funny story though, it's kind of like an ongoing joke with all of us at Galley, even with the owner there. Like I said, they've known each other. The owner of Galley, Carlos and Jimmy Smooth, they've known each other since like 2008, maybe 2009. And we would always like give Jimmy jokes because, wrestling days are long days, especially for Jimmy, we're making all these long trips. He's there right next with me, putting up the ring and shit. So, he would always find somewhere to go take a nap. And, and it didn't matter if it was 45 minutes before doors open. You just look over, there's Jimmy just snoozing away. But it got to a point, we ended up getting crash pads and we kept them in the trailer for a while. And that was an ongoing joke. Jimmy had a lot of dogs. He loved dogs.
Oh yeah.
And I guess his dogs chewed up like his bedding and his mattress. So like he wasn't really getting some sleep at home. And we would catch him out in the trailer with the freaking crash pads, just taking naps. So we would always say that the crash pads had become Jimmy's bed. And it was all in good faith, and he was always laughing with us. And like, kind of like what Chris said too, Jimmy wasn't afraid he would do anything to make someone laugh. And he wasn't afraid to like rib on himself to make someone laugh and smile.
Right.
Exactly.
And, I think back to the last trip I had with him, just Saturday before his passing and everything. And it was beautiful, man. The show got rained out. We were outside. And I swear, every time I looked around and I seen Jimmy, he was just enjoying a drink, smiling, laughing, talking to people. And he didn't care that we got rained out. You know what I mean? He's like, whatever. We're here. Let's have a good time. And we actually had Nasty Nick Nolan on the trip with us too. And it was very awesome, to see that Jimmy was willing to do whatever forever. And he invited Nick to come with us out to Galley Lucha Libre and just kind of opened up his variety of wrestling and stuff. And even Nick said, this is pretty fun. Like, this is cool. At one point he was just saying that, like, we don't really spend a whole lot of time outside of wrestling settings, and it was cool that we were now on a road trip together and we're here cracking jokes. And I thought it was beautiful too. It was fun. I had a good time, and that's how I'm gonna remember Jimmy.
Awesome, man. That's great.
Great time, great man.
Jerry Dennis says, I was going to going to say that. I remember him asleep in the chair at the Romeoville show. So
Yeah.
I want to touch on this real quick, guys. This speaks volume beyond for Jimmy. I can tell you firsthand, Jimmy not only cared about his wrestlers, he truly cared about their families also.
Yeah.
Oh shoot. There you go. Sorry.
Yeah, being around Jimmy's
That's what's
promotions,
right.
he became like, we were seeing him 2-3 times a week at times. Me, my daughter, her fiance, my wife. You just don't see somebody that much and talk to him that much, and without developing a bond. And it's hard when we lose somebody in the business like this, especially somebody that's been doing it this long and was still actively reaching out and touching all of us.
One thing I want to go ahead, brother.
He had a lot to give still, and that's very sad, because he was ready to just lay it all out there with MCW, and we're still gonna do that for sure.
I will say this: when I stopped really interacting with MCW, I reached out to Jimmy and I talked to him. I said, well, I was very discouraged. Nothing you guys did, nothing. I was just discouraged with life in general. Things were, my mom died and my mom passed away in October. So I went through from November, December, January, just now finally getting over that hump. Not really, but kind of. And Jimmy was there and he said, dude, don't give up what you're doing. Don't give up what you're doing. You're part of the business as well. Keep doing it. We need you. Don't give up. And that guy was, what that showed to me has to be what he shouted through the locker room, I'm sure. Guys, don't give up. Keep on doing it. Yeah. Keep on doing it. So
for just talking about stories and back, both these guys were there for the first skydive show. Yeah. If you remember the talk that he was giving us there, I mean, when he'd pump up the locker room, before you do a show like that, it was just he was magnetic. You know what I mean? He was quirky, he was funny, he was magnetic, he was all that in one person.
So yeah, he made you want to go out there and perform. He really did.
Yeah, he did. You wanted to do everything you could for the guy.
Yeah.
So Sid, maybe you remember this. Chris Patton says one of the funny things Jim told me was after the match that Sid and Axel power bound me through a table. He says that the first time he saw a table looked scared. LOL.
If I was a table, I'd be afraid of you landing on me too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know, but
that's he was just always funny. He was very quirky. That's a good word. He was very quirky in his own way, but it was very enlightening, and his energy exuberated off to the next person. And again, like he had a way. It's not really what he said most of the time, like when he would hype us up for shows, but it was just how he was delivering that stuff. And
he was
he was very cool, man. He was one of a kind, and he was my wrestling dad. Like Chris said, I wouldn't have met Chris if it wasn't for Jimmy. I wouldn't even be wrestling if it wasn't for Jimmy. And to know that he trusts all of us, and he cared for all of us and our families, and it really showed that he was one of a kind in the wrestling business and just in life in general.
Absolutely.
To hear him talk about his kids and his dogs, which he also referred to the dogs as kids, so you never really knew who he was talking about.
Yep.
But it was just constant. It was constant love all the time, and he was a fucking workaholic. Excuse my language, but you couldn't put this man down. He was constantly like, he just had a chip on his shoulder, and he had a drive and a passion behind him that was very infectious.
He definitely did not have a stop button. I can recall on one of the shows, Jimmy actually, he very, very well articulated in his own way. He's like, listen, I need to run and let the dogs out real quick, but I will be back. He left the show, right? Gave us all the speech and said, I'm going to be right back. Man ran home, let out all the dogs, and came back within an hour. So, like, exceptionally committed. And one thing I'll say, Jimmy was very supportive, of like whatever passion you had. One of the things, I'm pretty self-aware when I'm in the ring. A lot of guys get caught up in it, just trying to stay focused, remembering your spots and everything like that. But I can recall so many different times that Jimmy has been present for my matches. I can look out in the crowd, scan it, and I can see him watching. And that's enough. Jimmy is always watching what's on the card. You might think that he's somewhere floating around. He's only gone if he has to be, but he's watching everyone's match. I can look out and see him just out in the crowd, and it's a good thing. It's just like to know that he's out there watching the product, watching it unfold, and giving you real feedback afterwards. Not just, hey, how did you do? He saw you,
Yeah.
And I thought that was always a good thing.
Yeah, not many promoters get to watch the whole show. And the one show I got to see him, he did not leave that ringside unless, as you said, he had to. And he was laser focused on every match. That is very heartwarming to see. So
it wasn't just if he was doing his own shows either. I remember we would, when I went with him to micro wrestling and I'd run the sound, he'd be there. He'd be like the first one there. He's going to ref the show. He's taking tickets at the door. He's, talking to everybody. He's just like, he's a workhorse. He was just such a workhorse behind the scenes, even if it wasn't his company. It was amazing.
He, I would always joke around and say he's like a walking gimmick, because he was Seymour Butts, Jimmy Smooth, in the lucha culture. They call him El Guapito, which means the pretty one. And then with midgets in the micro wrestling crews, they would call him Duck. So he had 4 different gimmicks, and then you want to count his real government names. He had 5 gimmicks that he would live on, and he definitely lived up to all these gimmicks, and he knew when to turn on which flavor of ice cream he wanted for the show, whether it's Jimmy Smooth, do they want to see more butts, or do they need to see Jimmy Smooth, or if I'm or if he was with the micros and I'm with them, I would see that like transformation with him, like, hey man, don't call me this, don't call me that. I'm Duck for the day, and again, these crews, they're from all over the world and all over the country, and like they get these guys, and a lot of them, they're from Florida, and it's like it just goes to show how much of an impact he had in wrestling. Like he wasn't just helping out the Midwest, he was helping out other promotions down in Florida. He when he first started, he was very heavily in the Minnesota scene out up there, and like doing a lot of stuff up with companies in Minnesota. So like, I've shared some road journeys with this man and gotten to hear his backstory. And, he never really got the big opportunity and, got to work for like the big companies or nothing like that. But his passion never burned out, no matter what. No matter someone told him, hey, you're not capable, just quit the business, whatever. The man just kept coming back. And again, trial and error, and that's one thing I've learned from Jimmy. He never really taught me a whole lot about like actual in-ring wrestling stuff. Just kind of more etiquette, how you should treat people, things like that. And I will honestly say, like, he's taught me probably the most about those things. And it's very, very surreal, just because, inside wrestling and outside wrestling, like he's always taught me stuff. And immediately when we all got the news, my family was like pretty concerned, and they reached out to me right away. They're like, man, we're just making sure you're okay, and I was like, yeah, he's my wrestling dad and stuff. But they're like, no, he really affected you in like outside of wrestling, and we see that. And to hear the outpour of the wrestling community, I know his wife is so happy about that. And I am too, because I always knew he kind of spoke highly about all of us and all the wrestlers and everything that he's come across. But, he really spoke so highly of me, and it's such an honor. you know, to be trusted the way that he trusted me, and how proud of me and everybody else he was. It's, you know, I'm just going to remember those things. And I'm just going to remember that last trip that I had with him, you know, just kind of seeing him walk around and cracking jokes and just enjoying himself, regardless of what the situation was. He was just there to have fun. That was Jimmy, you know.
Wow. Man, you guys have shared a lot. I'm sure this is hard for you guys. It can't be easy. When I heard the news, I was shocked. I didn't know him like you guys know him. I wish I would have got a chance to know him like you guys knew him. He raised. I mean, I want to say this. He raised some good guys.
Yeah.
You guys ought to be proud to say that you were, you know, friends of Jimmy Smooth. You know, and
No.
I'm proud to call him brother, man.
Yeah.
I got another great example. So I have two older brothers. One of my brothers lives in San Antonio, Texas, and he came up here when we had a show early in January of this year. And he only met Jimmy one time. And he's like, you know, when he heard the news, he reached out to me, of course, and was checking on me. But he's like, dude, I met Jimmy one time in my life and only talked to him for maybe 25 minutes throughout the whole night. But to hear how much he loved you just makes me love him, you know? And that's prime example of the effect, the Jimmy Smooth effect, you know? You meet him, by the time you walk away, you're going to be like, I freaking love this guy. You know, he's funny, he's this, he's that, you know? And he brought that every day, you know?
And his wife says, this is huge, guys. They are family, man. So the wife, you know, Jimmy's wife, man, she even considered you guys all as family, and that's powerful, guys. The impact that you played on, yeah, you guys, man, that's powerful stuff. And you guys ought to be proud of yourselves for being the men that you are. You know, and I love every single one of you guys. You guys have had an impact on my life. I follow every single one of you on my Facebook. I apologize for not staying in touch over the last 5 months.
Okay.
You guys were my promotion that I covered up in the Midwest. I hope A&B, I hope we can get back to doing that again.
Absolutely.
You guys are amazing. I mean, and I'd love to help you guys keep Jimmy's legacy going. So whatever I can do with my podcast for your promotion up there, I will do that. I think Jimmy left. I don't think I know. Jimmy left a amazing promotion in MCW, and he left it in the great hands of whoever helps. I don't know. I don't know that part of it, but I'm sure that you guys will you'll represent Jimmy Smooth 100%.
There's a team of us collectively. I'm not going to throw all the names out there.
Right.
But yeah, unfortunately, and it's very, you know, and again, it goes to show how much he trusted a lot of us, you know, and especially me, you know. It's a challenge for myself, of course, but Jimmy's going to guide me through it. And, you know, everything was kind of passed down and trusted with the MCW crew. So it's all of us, man. It's a village, you know. We're all going to do everything in our power to make sure this is a successful promotion, you know, and Jimmy's name in wrestling lives on. And, you know, by all means, you know, nobody's perfect, especially in wrestling and stuff, or even just life. And Jimmy had some wrongs he was trying to make right. And I think, you know, we can do that by giving quality shows and just making a mission statement and just putting in the work, you know. And Jimmy was a working man, and he was willing to do it. So why can't we, you know? Again, I'm not going to throw all the names out there, but the people that are helping us continue, it's a sacrifice for a lot of us, and it's a challenge, and it's one that we're all ready to take, you know. And just stay tuned to MCW, Midwest Championship Wrestling Illinois. and just be on the lookout. We got some things that we're working up. We're currently about to be going into round 2 of the United States tournament bracket. That will start on the 24th. We'll go through round 2, and we're gonna extend this, and give people an opportunity to really give them a platform to showcase their abilities. So this tournament's gonna go on all the way until August, which is gonna be great. So just stay tuned, because you don't know who's gonna come into MCW. It might be a guy that you've never seen before. It might be a guy that you've seen on TV. So just stay tuned. I can only say for myself at this moment, Chris, feel free to chime in too, but there's going to be some exciting things coming with MCW.
Definitely stay tuned. It's a lot of big things happening there, and I'm excited, coming off the injury list as well. So that'll be good. So I'll be around a lot more, and I'm just excited for all the possibilities that the future holds. There's a pulse there's a pulse in MCW, and we're going to keep that heartbeat going. So.
Absolutely. Best way to say it.
Absolutely. I'm excited to have Wildcard on the show May 31st. I'm sure he'll be able to share some more on his wrestling career and his future going forward. We'll talk about Jimmy Smooth even.
Absolutely. You'll be able to cover the fallout of May 24th as well.
Cover the fallout of May 24th.
Yep.
I'd love to have a few guys on the show before May 24th show, but I will be on a cruise in the Bahamas. So I leave Sunday. I leave Sunday for the Bahamas. I get back on the 20th, Monday the 20th. So maybe we can work something out for that week. Get a few of you guys on the show to hype up the May 24th show. So,
absolutely.
Of course.
I'll get a hold of you, A and B, and
okay,
and work something out like that. But I just got to say thank you guys for being willing to come on the show. I just on Tuesdays since part of the Tuesday show when it's available. I'm sure we'll continue talking about it. Jimmy Smooth on that show, and it's just you guys. I just want to say that you guys do amazing things for me. As a foster parent, I take this time as self-care to get out of the real world. And this is a different podcast for me, but I just felt like I needed to get a hold of you, A and B, and I'm glad that you accepted. I'm glad that Sin accepted. Wildcard, I'm glad you accepted. And Apex, I'm glad you accepted, man. It's just that means a lot to me. I just do it because I love you guys. I love Jimmy. The interactions I've had with Jimmy were very small in comparison to what you guys had, but he still was an impact and an encouragement to me. So I will say that. If you guys have nothing, you guys just want to close this show with any last thoughts, or you want just let me close the show?
You can I feel like you can close it. I mean, we pretty much, I said what I need to say in regards to just kind of paying my respects to Jimmy. And, I will apologize. I tried my best to keep myself composed throughout this, but things are still fresh. Things are still new. And again, Scott, love you too, man. It's good that you reached out, and that there's been a lot of people reaching out, but, it shows that people care, and I just want to say thank you for letting us come on here and talk about Jimmy, because he needed his flowers, and someone's got to talk about his career too.
MCW has always been a family of HPWP. Thank you, Oscar. Thank you, Stacy. I do it for you guys, man. I do this because I love wrestling and I love the people I meet, and that's it. I can say this, all four of you guys, not many wrestlers I can say this about, but all four of you guys, I talk to you probably every other week, or at least once a month, and I try to stay connected with you guys because you guys have made an impact on me, and I believe it's because of how you were taught, how you're raised, and all this stuff. So I wish you guys. I pray for you guys all the time. I'm going to pray for you guys this weekend. I think the funeral is this Friday, right? Or
Wednesday.
Tuesdays.
Next week.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Wednesdays.
Okay. So I'll be praying for you guys. You guys will be in my mind. Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast is we wanted to give MCW roster a chance to share their memories. I'm thankful for all the positive memories. You can tell by AMB, Sin, Wildcard, and Apex, everything they said did nothing but praise Jimmy Smooth, James Stolben. What's the other guy? The funny one.
Seymour Butts.
Seymour Butts. All these names that Jimmy Smooth was.
El Guapito.
All that, you know. You got this guy is this guy left a legacy, and I'm happy to be to know you guys. Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. Check us out the week after next, as we hopefully can put something together to talk to some of the talent going forward to that May 24th events. AMB, Sin, Wildcard, Apex, thanks for taking the time out of your night.
Thanks for having me.
Diane, thank you for being on the show, in the chat. Stacy, Oscar, Mike, Bobby Lee, Chris Patton, Jerry Dennis, all you guys, thank you for jumping in. Follow the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. I have a feeling we're going to see more of MCW on the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. I look forward to that. You guys have a blessed night. I'm going to play the song. If you guys want to hang out and talk to me afterwards, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys. Love you all. Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast is out.
All my dogs, make some noise up in this house.
Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the grind. Cause when your body hits the canvas, then your head is knocked out. Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the grind. Cause when your body hits the canvas, then your head is knocked out. Fight with Adrian Whisper is like a fight with the devil, because when he's dealing with you, you cannot get on this level. Fight with Adrian Whisper is like a fight with a king. It's like a fight with an army. They got the tanks and everything. He's leaving bruises and stitches, possibly leaving you crippled. Cause when he sets up the table and sends you straight through the middle. 6 sadistic free, beat that ass with a light bulb. Leave a piece of glass embedded in the back of your skull. Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the ground. Cause when your body hits the canvas, then your ass is knocked out. Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down.